Well, for more on this, I want to bring in now Rob Shapland. He is known as an ethical hacker. He's also head of cyber services at Falanx Cyber. Rob, it's good to have you on the show. You know, you say you are an ethical hacker. So when you look at Germany's current cybersecurity setup, what would an unethical, a hostile hacker be capable of doing?
Yeah, well, that's right. So my job is simulating these criminal attacks and looking at how vulnerable most companies are at the moment. A sufficiently skilled and advanced hacker, as we have coming out of Russia, would be able to target most companies. You know, generally speaking, most companies don't really know what they're doing. It's very difficult to defend yourself against cyber attacks nowadays. It's very confusing. There's a lot of things. What do I do? What do I don't do? So at the moment, we're looking at a situation where companies are vulnerable and we need something in place to help those companies know how to defend themselves. You know,
the German government's own paper on cybersecurity, you know, it's sober reading, actually. And I'm quoting here. It says sabotage and disinformation are capable of massively and persistently impairing or even disrupting the functioning of our community and our economy. How worried should we be?
I mean, based on my experience, it is surprisingly simple to break into most companies, you know, even large companies, but small to medium companies especially. And a lot of critical national infrastructure is made up of those smaller companies, or at least their suppliers to the larger companies. So we should be worried. However, it is very difficult to do a mass attack on loads and loads of companies simultaneously. And in order to disrupt critical national infrastructure on a large scale, you would need to do that. So I think what we'll see is individual companies being affected, and we've seen that already. We've seen lots of energy companies and other businesses being attacked. But I think we'll see those companies being hit, and often by ransomware, those kind of kidnap and ransom extortion attacks happening. But I think it's unlikely we'll see a mass scale attack, because I think we probably would have seen that already when the invasion started.
Well, the current situation, you know, have 16 German states, 16 states that are responsible for their own cybersecurity. So we're talking about decentralization here. Is that a good or a bad thing in the eyes of a bad hacker?
I think in the eyes of a bad hacker, you want there to be lots and lots of different rules. So 16 states is good for the bad hackers, because there are lots and lots of different conflicting advice. And when you're a small business and you just want to survive, you're trying to make money, you're trying to, you know, look after your shareholders, etc., it's very difficult to work out how to defend yourself against attacks. So it's much better for a company to have centralized advice where everything, you know, it's going to work. You know, take these steps and we're going to be able to defend against cyber attacks. Whereas at the moment, you have conflicting advice from different areas, and it's very, very difficult to defend yourselves in that way.
So let's imagine we've got Russian-sponsored hackers here who want to launch a cyber attack here in Germany. They're not going to like the news then that the German Federal Office for Information Security is going to soon take over from these 16 states when we're talking about cybersecurity, are they?
No, I mean, it should make it harder for the hackers. It obviously depends on how good the advice is, and you hope it would be good, and how well it's followed. Of course, those companies have limited budgets. So if the advice coming out is quite expensive in what they need to do, then that's a lot more difficult for them to implement. But if the advice is quite simple, like nice stuff like long passwords, multi-factor authentication, antivirus, backup systems that are completely offline, so if you get hit by a ransomware, the hackers can't get to that as well.
Is it that simple, though, Rob? Is it that simple?
I mean, those are some of the basic steps you can do. So, I mean, cybersecurity can get really, really complex, but actually, in most cases, the attackers go for the easy stuff, the low-hanging fruit, the things that are easy for them to exploit. Inherently, they're lazy, right? And they will go for the easiest company. So if every company's got all the basic steps in place, it makes it that much more difficult for them to break in. Okay, it's not going to stop a targeted attack. It's the majority of the attacks that the Russians will try.
Ethical hacker Rob Shapland. Rob, as always, good talking with you. I tell you, if I want to protect my IT systems, I'll definitely give you a call. Thank you.
Thanks.